Okay, let's see. It's sure. Hi everyone, this is Patrick Palucci with Slooh Space Camera. I'm here today with Duncan Kopp and Dr. Lucy Green. We're just jumping in really quick to give you a quick update on what's going on with the current Japanese feeds. As you can probably notice, the weather conditions in Japan are poor right now, and the feeds, two of them are basically offline, and the one that's working is a little bit, you can see the cloud cover is pretty bad. But you can actually start seeing the beginning of the moon going inside of the sun on this particular feed. It's the NAOJ feed, if you're looking at it right now. But before we get rolling, I wanted to kind of tell you what's going on later today. Our core broadcast and event is actually taking place from the United States. We have multiple feeds coming in. They're going to be spectacular, and they're going to be coming in approximately at 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and that's 00 UTC. And in that case, the weather is actually really good in the United States, in the western part of the United States. So we'll get a lot better feeds coming out of there than we are in this particular show. But anyway, before we get started on this, I thought we'd come on live for a little bit. We're going to monitor the chat box. So if anyone you are listening right now, you may want to go to that chat box and type in so many questions you may have. It's on the homepage of slooh.com. And what we're going to do is I'd like to first introduce our two guests who've jumped on. Duncan actually is going to participate in this quick segment and not come back for the second show, but Dr. Lucy Green is going to be out with us on the second show, so we're really excited to have her on board as well for that second show with Bob Berman from Astronomy Magazine. So anyway, let's get started with Duncan. Just to introduce Duncan, Duncan's a film producer out of the UK. You may have seen some of his work. In fact, you might see in the bottom box there, Duncan's going to be doing a broadcast with us on Friday to celebrate the 51st anniversary of JFK's moon speech. And we're going to be doing some really nice event that night, a night with some Apollo engineers. And Duncan has produced many of celestial programming for all the major networks, including Discovery Channel, Nova, Nat Geo. I mean, there's a whole list of them that he's worked with in various shows. And we always love to have him on because he has a different perspective on everything, and it's nice to have you. Duncan, thanks for coming on really today. It's great to have you.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you. Thanks very much. It's always good to be back at Slooh.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And then, of course, we've got Dr. Lucy Green. She is a solar researcher out of the UK, and Dr. Green has been with us. Actually, her first entry with Slooh was with you might have recognized her from the June 2011 event that we did with Google, the Lunar Eclipse. And Dr. Green and actually Duncan were two of the people that were actually on that broadcast. So she has actually come on a few other broadcasts. You may recognize her from she is a contributor on the BBC at times. And she's out of the Muller Space Science Laboratory, the UCL Department of Space and Climate Physics. Dr. Green, we'd love having you on. Thanks for coming.
I think we may have lost her, Pat.
Oh, is she gone? Oh, that's too bad. All right, she'll be back.
I don't see her at the moment. She was there, but she's may have just dropped out for a moment.
Okay, no problem, no problem. Let me. I'm gonna send out a tweet while we're waiting. You know, Duncan, maybe we could talk more about, as I'm tweeting, maybe talk about what's going on right now over Japan with the annular eclipse. I know your expertise is not in the sun, but maybe you could talk about the whole event itself and what's going on.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, annular eclipses are pretty interesting, and the reason they occur, they differ from a normal solar eclipse. When you get a normal total solar eclipse, the moon totally covers the sun, totally covers the whole disk of the sun. And that's really an amazing coincidence. It's just that the sun is so much further away than the moon, and the moon therefore appears so much bigger in our sky. But in fact, even though the sun is much, much bigger than the moon, because the moon is closer, they appear to be the same size. And that's just an amazing celestial coincidence. But what happens is the moon varies very slightly in its orbit around the Earth. It's not completely circular. It's annular. It's elliptical. And this is why you get these annular eclipses. When the moon is just a little bit further away, it's just a little bit smaller, and it can't quite cover the whole of the sun's disk. And that's exactly what we're seeing today with the annular eclipse. So you have this beautiful ring of fire, which is a very small ring of light, which is a small part of the solar disk that the sun is peeping behind the moon, that the moon cannot cover up, basically. And that's what we're seeing today. So that's why they call it a ring of fire.
Yeah, it's fast. It's going to be a fascinating event. It's too bad the weather out of Japan is poor right now, so we're not able to really give you a clean look of it. If you're on the Slooh.com homepage right now, you can channel select the different feeds that we have going, and one of them is actually on the top of Mount Fuji, and I'm going to give you an overview of each of the feeds here in a second after I get this tweet out. But
Fuji, I can see the Fuji, Mount Fuji looks as if it's quite cloudy at the moment. But
yeah, that's the problem.
If you go on the Slooh homepage and you're looking at the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan, the NAOJ feed, that's a much better feed. And what you can see there is the lighter sort of crescent-shaped object. That's actually the sun, and you can see the limb of the sun running there around the sort of northwest corner down to the south. And then the dark object, that's the moon encroaching in on the sun, and eventually the moon's going to center itself up, and it won't completely cover the sun, as I say, because you'll just have that little angular sort of almost like a rim of light all the way around. But you can see it progressing really nicely there. It's great.
Right. No, it is. It's starting to come together. Yeah, you're going through a lot of clouds. You can tell hopefully those will move away as we get going. Now that feed, I'm looking at my notes here so we can kind of get a good idea of what we're looking at here. If I can find the sheet that I had this on. Oh yeah, that's the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan is providing this particular feed for Slooh, and they've given us permission to use this, and so we're really appreciative to them. We have actually a feed out of the Mount Fuji with Panasonic. They are providing a feed, although that feed, as you can see, is weathered out right now. And we have a next feed is I guess I'm trying to make sure I pronounce this right. Kagea feed from Kanto region. It's a private individual who's helping us out with that particular feed for us. So that's but unfortunately that one hasn't come online at all. I don't think. No, it's not even on yet. So right now the best feed is the one coming out of the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan.
That's a great feed. Yeah, no, that's really clear from here. It's beautiful. You can see. I think it's taken in hydrogen light. It's a very clear picture of the solar disk there, and you can see the moon is just really slowly inching across there. It's amazing to watch.
It is. It is. I'm going to see if there's any. One of the things that's going to be cool in the second show is that we'll get a lot of color out of you'll get to see the sun as well, so it'll be kind of interesting. But anyway, so Duncan, right now we're waiting for Dr. Green to come back. We hope to see her soon as we do this little broadcast. This was not a planned broadcast. We decided to come on since the imagery is a little bit poor right now. We wanted to give everyone a quick update. So basically what's happening right now is we're seeing this event take place over Asia. It's morning over there. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm surely not the astronomer in the group here, but it's morning over there, and that shadow is making its way soon. It's going to go over the Pacific Ocean, and it's going to hit the United States and the western United States. And those who are in the path of annularity are going to get the Ring of Fire show. And that's right.
Yeah, exactly. The eclipse, it follows a path of about 8,500 miles, and for about 3.5 hours, and depending where you are, you can see the annular sort of ring of fire effect for about 5 minutes or so. But again, that depends where you are. But as you say there, Pat, it's going to track in over California, down through Nevada, come across into New Mexico, passing right through the path goes right through Albuquerque. So you know, if the Midwest has got good weather, you're going to have a spectacular show there towards the end of the day.
Yeah, in fact, for those of you on the Slooh.com homepage, you can actually use the channel changers. And I got a Japan map, and I believe I had a USA map. Oh, no, it's not up. I didn't put that one up. That'll come in the second show. Sure. But you'll see where it's going through right now, and hopefully the weather will start clearing a little bit so we can get some better imaging. But you can see it taking place. The NAOJ feed is from the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan, and that is happening right now. It is a live feed that's taking place that we're currently using. So, Lucy, you're back with us. It's good to see you.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm not sure quite where I went. I've been missing.
You fell into the. You went into they call it internet black hole. You went into a black hole.
Yeah.
So, Lucy, we were just. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, it's good to see the feeds coming from Japan. I work a lot with the Japanese, and I know they've been really excited about being able to see this eclipse and broadcast it. So good to see they've got good weather.
Yeah, it's spectacular there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can't wait to do the second show, because we're gonna it's gonna be really cool. We're gonna have feeds from 3 different locations. One actually from the Grand Canyon, so we'll have a whole different look from that one. But we're really excited because we should get a lot more color into the imagery, and I know the weather out here is good. It was really nice today here in California. So actually, just to give everyone a sense of what's going on here, I'm actually broadcasting from our California studios, otherwise known as my office, and Duncan and Lucy are actually in the UK, and we're grabbing feeds from Japan. So you can imagine some of the technical hurdles of doing this. Great, but it's fun. I mean, we enjoy doing these shows. We do them all the time, by the way. And if you notice, there's a couple shows already counting down. Obviously, we have the later solar show coming down in about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. But we actually are doing other shows. That's what Slooh does on our homepage. We do a lot of these free events for people to enjoy, and we have one coming up just on this Friday with the JFK moon anniversary, and we bring in people from all over the world to participate, so it's pretty neat. We also have a Moon, Saturn, Spica Star event counting down, and of course on the 5th we got the transit of Venus. So these are all the things on our schedule right now. That schedule will update constantly, so always come back if you want the latest update, or if you like us, you follow us on Twitter, you circle us on your Google+. You know, all those tools will allow us to communicate with you when our next event is going live. So please make sure you do that. Also, just get a word in about becoming a member of Slooh. That membership does help support the live programming that we produce, and it's really important that people join, and that helps fund to have great people on like Duncan and Lucy, as well as all our feed partners. Also, if you're not interested in becoming a member, we do have a contribution link there. You'll notice, just click the membership button on the top, and you can learn more about that stuff. But we'd love to have you come on. Members can control scopes. We own and operate our own observatories around the world, and you can actually control those as members. And it's really for all ages. We have make it simple enough for novices to participate, but we also have advanced tools. In fact, we're going to be releasing FITS files and filter controls and stuff for some of our equipment in the Canary Islands, actually by probably next week. And in fact, on top of that, we actually have a special, too, you'll notice, that pops up. So if you sign up for a yearly program, you get a 200-minute mission code card to give to your friend. They can become a member as well. So anyway, you guys, what are we looking at? I'm looking at I'm still looking at the NAOJ feed right now.
Yeah, I can see that one.
Lucy, what are your thoughts about the annular eclipse in general? I mean, I'm obviously you probably have seen a total solar, so what is the annular rate in that whole realm?
Well, you're right. I've seen a total eclipse. I saw one in 2009. This was the longest eclipse of the century, and that was amazing. It was the first time I'd seen any eclipse without cloud. I did try to see the one we had in the UK in 1999. That was a total solar eclipse, but of course it was clouded out being in the UK. And so in 2009, I finally got to see the atmosphere of the sun for the first time with my own eyes, rather than just using spacecraft that I normally use. So it was really great to make that direct connection to the area of the sun that I normally study. But of course, with the annular eclipse, you're seeing this ring of fire around the moon because the apparent size of the moon in the sky is smaller relative to the size of the sun. And I would love to be able to see one of those eclipses from the ground. But it's great to be able to see this live feed. And looking at the NAOJ feed is great because we're looking in the visible light, but in a particular wavelength range of hydrogen alpha. So you can see all these features on the sun. So, for example, filaments, which are dark features that snake across the surface of the sun. And these are the features on the sun that can erupt to produce coronal mass ejections that I study. So it's nice to be able to see so much detail on the sun. And also because the sun's coming up to its maximum in activity, there's going to be a lot to see during this whole eclipse.
Right, right. It is fascinating. So you have, I assume this feed's going to be in the ring of what they call the ring of fire. You'll be able to see it. Unfortunately, it's so clouded out in Japan. It's going to be hard to see it really in a spectacular sense. But so what exactly? Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, no, I just got a question. I don't know whether Lucy can help, but even though the moon's going to cover about 97% of the sun, will anybody notice an appreciable darkness at all?
I don't think you'll notice it getting dark. So there will be a slight drop, but I don't think people will feel that strongly. So you need the total solar eclipse for that, to see the darkness come through and to feel the temperature drop as well. So it will be a different kind of spectacle.
But that's pretty amazing to think that 97 or 98% of the sun is going to be totally covered, but we don't perceive any difference or very little difference in the light levels that we get here on Earth. That's always sort of amazed me in some respects, that you actually have to cover, because the sun is so incredibly bright, you actually have to cover all of it before you really sense that it's gone dark. And even then, because you're in the cone of the shadow either side off to the horizons, or you can see that it's still light. There's light seeping in there if you have a total solar eclipse. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, it is. It really is, and it you know, it's something that should be remembered as well, because you still need to protect your eyes when you're looking at these annular eclipses. So you still have to have your filters and your special equipment. It's not possible to look directly at the sun.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Well, guys, you know, we're sitting here, we're looking at this progress as this is going on. Now, one of the things that confused me, that I had to wrap my head around, was that how is this taking place when it's morning, when the sun, you know, it's setting here in the west, but it's going to be in Japan happening first? And I was like, how could that happen? I mean, Dr. Green, could you possibly clarify that? Because I was trying to understand that, because you would think that the event would take place in the United States first, since the sun is going that direction. But it's what exactly is going on with the moon and sun relationship that's causing this to happen over in Asia first?
Yeah, so the shadow is moving eastwards, so it's going around the Earth that way. So when it starts in China, moves over to Japan and across around the Pacific, it's sort of creeping up on the back of us, and it's to do with the way that the alignment works out in the solar system. So the shadow is moving eastwards, and that's why it comes round to the US later on. Right, right.
It is kind of wild to think, because I was like, when I was looking at the timing of the event, I'm like, how could this be happening in Asia first? It doesn't make any sense. You know, us amateurs, it's kind of confusing. So.
The other thing to remember, Pat, is of course at different times, because you know we're on a round world. At different times, different places on the Earth have different times. So even though the sun, it may be morning out there in Mount Fuji now. Of course, around where we are in the UK, the sun has already set, which is why we never got to see it at all. It's really to do with your location on the globe. By the way, there's a great feed. There's a great feed from Mount Fuji now. Can you see that?
Let's see. Is it coming in clear now?
Yeah, it's great. There's a beautiful crescent sun.
Right. Yeah, if you do switch your channel changer over there, one thing you guys can do out there, if you're on the home page of Slooh.com, you can pin photos to your board. Just click the pin it button. If you're a Pinterest person, you can collect the photos and put it right to your board and share it with your friends. I'm going to do one right now, actually, and put it on my board. Kind of interesting. Anyway, so Lucy, there's been a lot of solar activity this year, hasn't there, or last couple of years? Can you maybe tell us more about that in general?
Yeah, so it's been a great time to be a solar scientist. After having quite a long, quiet time on the sun around sort of 2007, 8, 9 time, we finally came out of this long minimum, and the activity's been on the increase, which is great. So the sun has this roughly 11-year activity cycle. And one of the manifestations is the number of sunspots on the surface of the sun. So if you're looking at a feed in visible light, or if you're able, if you're at a location where you can see the eclipse and you're looking in visible light, you'll be able to see dark spots on the sun, which are these sunspots. And actually there are several good sunspot groups on the sun right now. There's a few good ones in the north that are quite large that you'll be able to see, and then lots of smaller ones in the south, and that's a sign that the solar activity is picking up. And actually there will be some images available from a spacecraft called Hinode, which is a Japanese spacecraft, and that'll be taking pictures of the sun in X-rays. So looking at the hot atmosphere of the sun, and also in ultraviolet light, again from the hot atmosphere. So later on you'll be able to see these pictures on the internet, and they will show lots of loop structures in the sun's atmosphere, which is another reflection of the increase in solar activity. So yeah, we've been paying a lot of attention to the sun, looking at all the eruptions it's been sending our way and explosions in the sun's atmosphere. And then a whole team of people have tried to predict just how this activity will affect us on the Earth. So probably people are familiar with the fact that the sun can send material in our direction that can affect our national grids, particularly in North America. There's been problems with that, and also with our satellites as well, and actually a huge range of effects. People using GPS for satellite navigation, the sun can affect that. Communications, radio communications. So yeah, there's been a few cases this year where we've felt interactions from the sun, but then also a few cases where we've seen material coming our way. So for example, in March we thought there'd be no, sorry, a bit later than that, a few weeks later we thought there'd be lots of activity, but then the ejections from the sun reached us and actually didn't cause many effects at all. So we're still trying to work out exactly how to do these good predictions.
Yeah, there's actually, if you guys are on the Fuji feed, it's starting to look pretty cool. There's a nice...
Yeah, isn't it? It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really coming together. So, yeah, I just pinned one and sent it to one of our boards. Yeah, but as you can tell, the weather's a little clouded out. We're not getting any of the nice, cool yellows and oranges that you'd see on a typical solar-type feed. But we definitely will have that available in the second show, the USA show that we'll be doing with Bob Berman from Astronomy Magazine. And Dr. Green will be joining us again for that. That's kind of our main broadcast. But we thought we'd jump in here for a quick show just to talk a little bit about what we're doing right now. So if you just joined us late, we have actually 3 feeds. The one from Mount Fuji is courtesy of Panasonic, who's doing a live event up on the top of the mountain. I believe that, I'm not sure that's the height of that mountain, but I believe it's 10,000 plus, if not more, on top of Mount Fuji. Do you guys know by chance how high up Mount Fuji is?
Yeah, I think it's just over 12,000 feet.
12,000 feet, yeah. So they're pretty high up, and you can see that the conditions must be pretty bad if they can't even get a clear view. We also have a feed coming out of the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan, and we also have a feed that's coming out of Keigaya, but that feed's offline, I assume, due to the really bad weather. They couldn't get any better shots. And you can see even on the NAOJ feed is the kind of the how we shortened it. You can see that it's pretty cloudy. You can barely see the event taking place. But I'm just going to stick on the Mount Fuji. That looks like the best one right now to look at. So you guys, what do you? We're probably going to stay on here for another, I don't know, 10. We'll wait. We'll get through the Ring of Fire and wait till it starts to transition out before we jump off and prepare for the next show. So Duncan, what are you thinking here? What do you? Have you ever done any kind of show on the sun yet that you've produced?
I did. I did a show for Nova last year that actually went out in the States last month in April, called Secrets of the Sun. And it was interesting hearing Lucy talk about some of the research there, because we tried to focus on that in the program as well, and try to explain just why the sun is so dynamic and why it's so important. Living with a star as we do, and the sun is a star, it's you know, it's one of the most exciting sort of physics laboratories you can have, because it's a sun that's very close to, it's a star that's very close to us. It's only 93 million miles away, whereas all the other stars in our galaxy are many, many light years away. So physicists, I guess, have this fantastic laboratory, solar laboratory, stellar laboratory, if you like, right on our doorstep. And you know, we try to present some of the latest findings in the show, and some spectacular imagery out there at the moment. There's a particular spacecraft called the Solar Dynamics Observatory, and you know, this spacecraft is sending back images. They're almost IMAX quality, and it sees the sun almost all of the time. Absolutely incredible imagery. If you've got a mo, you should have a look at that at some time.
Oh, it's fascinating. It looks like we're just coming up on the Ring of Fire right now. It's getting close. Obviously, it's not very Ring of Fire-ish because of the poor weather out there in Japan, but you will see it a lot better in the second show from the United States, which should be really cool as it unfolds. If you guys are just joining us, we kind of jumped on for a quick broadcast, the audio broadcast. We are showing live feeds from Japan right now. From Mount Fuji, which is like 12,000 feet up. I'm actually in California, Los Angeles, and our Dr. Lucy Green and Duncan Copper in the UK, and we have people really all over the country right now preparing for the next show. So you can see technology really working. If you're on your mobile device, you should be able to see these images as well. And in the second show, we're going to be routing the audio for you on if you have an iPad or an iPhone, you should be able to hear the audio that we're going to be producing from the show as well. So this is actually, we're broadcasting this live all over the place, which is kind of fun. So Dr. Green, are you going to go to the solar eclipse coming up? Maybe you could explain the difference between a total solar eclipse and an annular. What's actually happening here? How come this particular event is not giving us the total solar eclipse?
So what happens, whether you get the total or an annular, depends on the apparent size of the sun and the moon in the sky. So when they're exactly the same and the moon moves in front of the sun, then you get a total solar eclipse, and that means that all the visible light coming from the surface of the sun is directly blocked out, and then what you're able to see is scattered light coming from the sun's atmosphere, which is called the corona. But the moon in its orbit around the Earth varies in distance, which means that the moon's apparent size in the sky varies with time. So when it's closer to us, it appears bigger in the sky, and when it's further away, it appears smaller. So in fact, I could do with my hand, when it's close, it appears big. Of course, then when it's further away, it appears smaller. And yesterday we had the moon at what we call apogee, which means it's at its furthest distance away from the sun. So, sorry, from the Earth. So that means in the sky it appears relatively small. And so this time, when the moon moves in front of the sun, we get the annular eclipse, and it doesn't quite fill the size of the sun in the sky. So we get this ring of fire all around the outside. It's spectacular to see both kind of eclipses, though.
Wow. Are you going to go to the one that's going to happen? There is a total solar eclipse happening, I believe, in November. Are you by chance going to be going down there to check it out, or what?
Well, I would like to. That's right. This is going to be visible from Australia, from the northern part of Australia. And in fact, I've just made a trip to Australia, so I'm not sure if I can justify going back. I should probably watch that online as well.
Right. Well, you come to Slooh, we're going to have live feeds for it as well. Actually, Bob.
It looks like we're there now, Pat, on Mount Fuji. You can just about make it out. Can you see?
Yeah. I'm going to go and actually I'm going to tweet this out. I'm actually pinning it. If you guys have Pinterest, you can click that pin it button and save it right to your board. So I'm going to do that right now. Let's see. I'm putting this in. Yep, there it goes. So it's out. You'll see it pop up. It should pop up in the Twitter feed box. You'll see what I just did shortly. So it's kind of interesting. I'm going to see, anyone in the chat? The Slooh conversation, we are monitoring it. If you guys are in there, feel free to ask any of our panel a question. I'll be more than happy to relay it to them. So if you're on the Slooh.com site, go ahead and check it out. It'll be great. And
there's quite a good feedback from the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan as well.
Let's check it out. Oh yeah, it's coming in.
Yeah, you can.
Absolutely.
That's just about to moon's just about to sort of inch in there over the sun.
Right. It is. It's definitely occurring. You know, I'm really excited for the second show too. So make sure everyone who's out there listening to it right now, we're going to have 3 separate feeds coming in on the Western United States, and the skies are clear. That's
going to be spectacular.
Yeah, so we're in good shape on that show. And Bob Berman from Astronomy Magazine is going to join us as well, so it'll be fun. Bob's, he's a kick. He has interesting takes on stuff. So, yeah, if you're just coming in and looking at Slooh's live feed coming out of Japan, we have 3 right now, although 1 is technically offline. We have Dr. Lucy Green with us out of the UK, and we have film producer Duncan Kopp. And we do have a fascinating show coming up both later today for the second part of the Annular Eclipse, but we also have another one this Friday on JFK's moon anniversary speech, and we're going to have some Apollo engineers joining us. That should be fun. Duncan, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if you noticed this, Duncan. I put you down there in the lower box. I put Lucy in the middle box. So I'm giving you guys some publicity on the homepage right now.
Excellent.
Yeah, so look, Slooh puts these events on free to the general public. Our membership supports it. If you're interested to learn more about membership, please click the membership link on the top right of the homepage. Being a member of Slooh is actually pretty cool. You get to control high-powered observatories around the world and snap your own pics, personalize them, and share them. You also get to interact with space enthusiasts worldwide. As part of the show, we're doing a special offer. You get 200 minutes free with your yearly membership, which you can share with a friend. So we'll email you that special code that you can give to someone special. Maybe hold on for Christmas or something you could give them. And yeah, we're doing that, and it's really important. If you don't want to become a member, and I understand, the economies are tight around the world, there's a contribution button. It does help us greatly to help fund this stuff, and we are our goal is to start producing shows frequently, more than just the biggies that we're doing today, but also small stuff, comets, shows on Jupiter, whatever might be happening out there. Slooh's going to cover it live, so it's we're really excited about that as well. So anyway,
can you see the NAOJ feed?
I'm looking right now.
With just about.
Oh yeah. It's fascinating. I'm gonna pin that one right now.
You can see that in the southeast corner there, the limb of the moon is just about to move away from the sun there, so that the moon will be right in the center, and we should be able to see the ring of fire.
Oh yeah, this is awesome. This is awesome.
It's really exciting. I've never seen an annular eclipse before. It's amazing that we could. I'm sitting here in London and it's pitch black, and I'm watching this live. It's fantastic.
How often is it tough being astronomers in the UK? Or is it? You guys, I mean, Yeah, exactly. That's why I lived in Seattle for a long time, about 8 years, and it's probably very similar weather very cloudy. But you know, Seattle has beautiful days for sure. But it was definitely probably similar to the UK in that regard.
There you go.
So
Look, it's right in the centre now.
Yeah, it is. I'm
Look
gonna.
at that. Amazing.
Fantastic.
That's so cool. You can see the rim of the sun. You can just see a little ring all the way around the moon.
Yeah, you can see it on the Fuji feed as well. It's unfortunate the clouds are so prevalent there. You know, it'd be neat to see the whole yellow. It looks like you could see the. I'm looking at the Fuji feed. Is there solar activity you could see, flares coming off? Is that what I'm seeing, those little rough edges, you think? Or am I just imagining things?
If it's I can't quite make out exactly, but if it's still the hydrogen alpha feed, you'll be able to see prominences with our clouds of hot gas suspended up in the sun's atmosphere. So yeah, you should be able to see the signs of activity pretty much all the way around the sun. I had a quick look from some other telescopes before the Slooh feed came online, so you should be able to see little bubbles of gas all the way around the sun pretty much.
Wow. That's incredible. It's such an amazing picture. And it's live. It's really great. All the way from Japan. Amazing.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to one of our engineers, Paul Cox, who has helped us obtain these feeds out of Japan. He's done an awesome job as always, and just want to say thanks to him. And you know, we have a lot of people who have to get these shows together. One of the challenges that we have in producing these events is just one of these days we're going to do a better job of communicating what it takes to put them on, because it's really fun to do them, but it's very stressful, and a lot of things have to come together to make it happen. You know, doing live astronomy events, as you imagine, with weather patterns, you can't just say, oh, I'm going to have one feed and do it from here, because you know it'll. Generally speaking, the weather will turn on you at any moment, and you're going to have to be flexible. So it is fun for us to put these on, but it is a lot of work, and I want to thank people like Matt Marula, who's been a big help for these type of events, Tom O'Toole, and Paul Cox. Matt Francis will be a feed partner of ours. We'll be providing a feed out of the Grand Canyon live, so that's going to be really cool. And we're going to have another feed coming out of the University of New Mexico on the next show, so that's going to be really cool too. So, you know, again, I also want to shout out to any person or entity that's out there. If you'd like to join Slooh's programming at any time, just send an email to me, Patrick@slooh.com, SLOOH.com, and literally we could set you up into our network and do these shows. So we are looking for more feed partners around the world. Obviously, you've got to be willing to commit a certain level and have certain equipment to make it worth our while to do it. But if you're interested in doing that, just send me an email or send it to bizdev, BIZDEV @slooh.com, and we can talk about it and see how we can hook you up as well into our network. All right, guys. So what time is it? We're starting to lose out of the Ring of Fire is now leaving us. Looks like. I'm going to pin this one that's coming out of the NAOJ feed right now. I'm going to tweet it. All right.
If you look carefully, Pat, you can just about make out that the edge of the moon is rough. Can you see that?
Right, I'm looking at it right now. Oh, you know, which feed are you on?
I'm on NAOJ. I'm on the... You can just see that of course, the lunar surface is very, very rugged, and there are lots of mountains and valleys, and with the magnification of that telescope, you can just around the edge there, you can just see that it's quite rough. It's really spectacular.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I'm looking at this one right now, the NAOJ feed. If you click those triangles right there, you can get to it. I'm seeing a lot of flare activity. Is that similar to what goes down in the total solar eclipse, Dr. Green? Is that what will happen? Is you'll start seeing the flares better, or what will occur?
Yeah, that's right. So during the total, you'll be able to see a different part of the sun's atmosphere that's not visible otherwise, and that's called the chromosphere. So it's slightly above the layer that you can see now, but these prominences that I mentioned, they kind of extend up from the solar surface into the chromosphere. So we'll be seeing some of that now, and then you'd see it even better during a total solar eclipse. So these structures are related. They go up through the atmosphere. Yeah.
Right. That's wild. So you guys, I think we'll stay on for another 5 minutes. We'll take a break and then regroup on the next broadcast. We'll be going live again with the audio portion of the broadcast in about an hour. So we'll invite you in, Lucy. Can you hear me?
Great. Yeah, I can still hear you. Yeah, I'm just
good,
reading
good.
the conversations. Everyone's saying how much they're looking forward to seeing the US feed when it comes through. So that's good.
Right. No, it's going to be. So we'll start the audio portion about an hour from now, and the actual event, the U.S. event, you can see it counting down right now. You know, T-minus 1 hour and 17 minutes or so. So you can see that counting down. That's when the feeds themselves will go live. So we'll do a little prep prior to that, Lucy. So I'll invite you into the panel, about 20 minutes before, and you'll see. We'll get back on here and we'll talk more. And hey, Duncan, I really appreciate you coming on. Somewhat short notice. I mean, we weren't sure we were going to do this or not, depending on what came out of Japan. But as you can see, we had good results.
I've loved it. It's spectacular. It really, to see it happen live is amazing. So I've enjoyed every minute. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. Duncan, just a reminder, Duncan and I have a show going down on the moon, the anniversary of JFK's moon broadcast, or moon speech, and we're going to do that with Apollo engineers. We're going to talk about some of the things, and we're going to bring some fascinating shots. Duncan, I'm still confirming the timing of that show. I was thinking we'd do it actually earlier in the day if you're available, maybe in the U.S., but we'll see. I'll get back to you.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, we'll confirm that time. Also, everyone, don't forget about the transit of Venus. Slooh's going to have like 6+ hours of coverage. Duncan and I are actually working on that broadcast. Lucy, I'm hoping you can join us for part of it. I know you've got some work with the BBC going, but if you could squeeze us in, that'd be awesome.
So. Yeah, because I'll be viewing it from Svalbard, so I'll be able to give you an update on what we can see there.
Yeah, we definitely would appreciate that. It'd be awesome. But anyway, I think we're going to sign off right now. What we'll do is we'll come back in about an hour in preparation for the USA show that will begin in about an hour and 15 minutes, but you'll see the audio portion sooner than that. The current show for, let me see how much time is left in this one. I'm just looking at the timing. I think there's about a half hour left in the current Japanese show that we're showing. So that will actually flick over back to what we call a recorded mode, and then we'll start up again with the new one. So you may, if it doesn't do that for some reason, you may want to refresh your browsers out there. But you should see it flick over back to recorded, and then start up again in about an hour.
Right.
All right, guys. I appreciate your time, both of you. And then, Duncan, thanks. We'll be in touch.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And then, Lucy, we'll see you in about an hour.
Yeah, see you all later. Bye.
All right. Take
Bye-bye.
care, guys. See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Dr. Green has been with us. Actually, her first entry with Slooh was with you might have recognized her from the June 2011 event that we did with Google, the lunar eclipse. And Dr. Green and actually Duncan were two of the people that were actually on that broadcast. So she has actually come on a few other broadcasts. You may recognize her from she is a contributor on the BBC at times, and she's out of the Muller Space Science Laboratory, the UCL Department of Space and Climate Physics. Dr. Green, we'd love having you on. Thanks for coming.
I think we may have lost her, Pat.
Oh, is she gone? Oh, that's too bad. All right, she'll be
so.
back.
I don't see her at the moment. She was there, but she's may have just dropped out for a moment.
Okay, no problem, no problem. Let me. I'm gonna send out a tweet while we're waiting. Duncan, maybe we could talk more about as I'm tweeting. Maybe talk about Astronomy Magazine. So anyway, let's get started with Duncan. Just to introduce Duncan. Duncan's a film producer out of the UK. You may have seen some of his work. In fact, you might see in the bottom box there, Duncan's going to be doing a broadcast with us on Friday to celebrate the 51st anniversary of JFK's moon speech. And we're going to be doing some really nice event that night, a night with some Apollo engineers. And Duncan has produced many of celestial programming for all the major networks, including Discovery Channel, Nova, Nat Geo. I mean, there's a whole list of them that he's worked with in various shows. And we always love to have him on because he has a different perspective on everything, and it's nice to have you. Duncan, thanks for coming on today. It's great to have you.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you. Thanks very much. It's always good to be back at Slooh.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And then, of course, we've got Dr. Lucy Green. She is a solar researcher out of the UK, and it's coming in. They're going to be spectacular, and they're going to be coming in approximately at 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and that's 00 UTC. And in that case, the weather is actually really good in the United States, in the western part of the United States. So we'll get a lot better feeds coming out of there than we are in this particular show. But anyway, before we get started on this, I thought we'd come on live for a little bit. We're going to monitor the chat box. So if anyone you are listening right now, you may want to go to that chat box and type in so many questions you may have. It's on the homepage of slooh.com. And what we're going to do is I'd like to first introduce our two guests who've jumped on. Duncan actually is going to participate in this quick segment and not come back for the second show, but Dr. Lucy Green is going to be on with us on the second show. So we're really excited to have her on board as well for that second show with Bob Bergman from Australia. What's going on right now over Japan with the annular eclipse. I know your expertise is not in the sun, but maybe you could talk about the whole event itself and what's going on.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, annular eclipses are pretty interesting, and the reason they occur, they differ from a normal solar eclipse. When you get a normal total solar eclipse, the moon totally covers the sun, totally covers the whole disk of the sun. And that's really an amazing coincidence. It's just that the sun is so much further away than the moon, and the moon therefore appears so much bigger in our sky. But in fact, even though the sun is much, much bigger than the moon, because the moon is closer, they appear to be the same size. And that's just an amazing celestial coincidence. But what happens is the moon varies very slightly in its orbit around the Earth. It's not completely circular, it's annular. It's like
okay, let's see, it's sure. Hi everyone, this is Patrick Palucci with Slooh Space Camera. I'm here today with Duncan Kopp and Dr. Lucy Green. We're just jumping in really quick to give you a quick update on what's going on with the current Japanese feeds. As you can probably notice, the weather conditions in Japan are poor right now, and the feeds, two of them are basically offline, and the one that's working is a little bit, you can see the cloud cover is pretty bad. But you can actually start seeing the beginning of the moon going inside of the sun on this particular feed. It's the NAOJ feed, if you're looking at it right now. But before we get rolling, I wanted to kind of tell you what's going on later today. Our core broadcast and event is actually taking place from the United States. We have multiple feeds.